I'm going to attempt the passage that begins after the 7 bars of rest, the triplets. This could be ugly, but I'm going to try to play through it once, just at tempo. It is going to be what it is. But then I'm going to try to show you how I might tackle a passage like this and how I encourage my students to do that. So let me see if I can figure out. I'm going to pull the music stand away from the microphone for the sake of everyone. Who's up there? Ethan, he's going crazy. Like, would you stick with the microphone already? So chaining is just one practice technique that you can use when you're trying to tackle a passage that is difficult, especially one that might be fast and has some technical things in it. A lot of people will take a passage and slow it way down. And my students will attest to the fact that I sometimes teach them to do that, and I'm a firm believer in that. But then I went to a master class or a workshop a few years ago where the presenter had done some research on the way the brain works, and there's some emerging research that actually says that sometimes slow practice may not be the most efficient. And so I've been toying with this. He said that some of the research indicates that sometimes fast, up-to-tempo practice, but in small chunks, can be just as effective, if not more effective, than slow practice. So I'm not here to debate one or the other, because for those of you who are teachers in the room and you're like, wait, he's saying don't ever practice slowly. I'm not saying that, but here's just another way that you might tackle something. And that is, take a small enough chunk of the music. It might be 2 notes, it might be 4 notes, it's probably not more than 5, that you can actually quickly learn and get up to speed, and then work at that, play that at speed several times till it's fairly comfortable, and then you go for the next chunk. We try to hopefully practice each little chunk the same amount. However, let's be honest, whatever you start with, you're probably going to know better than what you end up with. And so if you start with the end and put it together backwards, then actually, in real time in performance, the further along you go, the more comfortable it becomes. So it's a little bit of psychology involved in that as well. Plus, sometimes the brain learns more efficiently if you actually break things up and don't do it in the same order. So what I might do with this passage, the very ending is kind of, it's the same thing over and over again. So I think I'm going to start with measure 162, if you can see that. Oh, they even blew it. Thank you for zooming in there. 162, at the very end, just that bar, we'll leave the rest of it off, because I want to see if I can tackle a few of these triplets and maybe be a little more accurate. Obviously not the first one, let's start again. I'll play that several times until I can maybe play it 3 or 4 times without missing it. Great, now it's time to go back to the beat before. I'm in the last triplet of 161, but I always go to the next downbeat so that when I go to put them together, I'm not just used to playing ba-ba-bum, but ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum. So now, try to put those 2 together. So I'm kind of going faster than I might normally do, but then back up one more beat. I'm moving on in the interest of time, but I'm not totally happy with that because not every single note was perfect. I want everything to be perfectly centered. But now at this point, I can just keep going back a beat at a time and then maybe dovetailing it into the beat I just played, or I can build it and every time when I add a new beat, go all the way to the end. There's not really a right or a wrong way. The advantage of just going in small chunks is that you ensure mathematically that you don't tackle one measure more than another or spend more time on one measure. Honestly, for me, sometimes it just depends on what kind of mood I'm in and what I feel like doing. If I really want to build my confidence at the end of a passage, then I'm just going to start there and every time go all the way. When I tack on a new measure or a new beat, I'm just going to go all the way to the end. Especially if it's something like this where it ends on a fairly high note, and I want to just build my confidence and my endurance, I might do something like that. I do think that sometimes you have to take, even if it's a short chunk, you've got to slow it down a little bit to get the right pitches. And I'm speaking to vocalists and percussionists and brass players and woodwind players, string players, so I don't want to get too brass focused, but for those of you who are brass players and maybe even woodwind players, one of the things I would do when I would work on something like this is I would actually learn to sing it as well. And it goes back to oral skills. And not up to tempo, by the way, but I would try to see if I could sing it, because if you can't sing it, you're probably not able to audiate it. Do you understand what we're talking about when we talk about the concept of chaining? It's basically you take a small link, you work on that, you put another link in the chain, and you keep working and putting little chunks together until you've got the whole passage down. It's much, much more efficient and effective than just playing the whole passage over and over again. You may, if you're like me, or if you're ADD, you're going to be like, I got to play the whole thing, right? I get it. We want to make music. We want to hear the whole passage, but sometimes, if you just play the whole thing over and over again, all you're doing is reinforcing the same mistakes. And the brain is going to burn really strong neural pathways in there going, oh, I know this passage. I do and you're going to learn how to crack every other note, because that's what your brain is doing most of the time. So it's much better to take it in small segments, learn to play it correctly, learn to play it well, and then tack them together.